The movie begins with a prologue that provides a brief historical context. It explains that in the 1600s, 5 families with magical abilities formed a covenant of silence to protect their secrets. One family was banished, and their bloodline was thought to be lost. We meet the ancient relatives named Tyler, Caleb and Pogue. As they are looking over the party that's going on below, Reed walks up and decides to jump down. They all follow behind him and Caleb's the last to get down. The boys walk to the party and arrive. They are greeted by Pogue's girlfriend named Kate. She introduces her new friend named Sarah. Immediately Caleb is drawn to her. The DJ announces to everyone that they need to leave because the police are on their way. Everyone runs off and the girls get in Sarah's car, but her car doesn't start. Reed offers to help and he gets the car going using his powers. Sarah thanks her and they head off. The boys also drive off, but they're chased by the police. Caleb tells Reed to pull over, but he refuses and steps on the gas. He tries getting away from the police, but they're hot on their trail. The cops realize their car is headed for a dead end and tries to warn the boys by honking at them. But the boys carry on with driving off. Reed tells the boys they all need to use their powers to fly their car. The boys do that, and the car jumps off the cliff. The 2 cops get out of their car and assume the boys fell over, only for their car to jump out of nowhere behind them. The boys laugh it off and quickly get away, leaving the cops questioning their sanities. Pogue drops off Caleb at his house. He walks in and his mom calls to see him. He goes to the other room and she reminds him of his birthday this weekend, telling him his powers are going to be greater, elaborating that his powers will cloud his judgment because they're addictive, and that's what happened to his father. But due to the overconsumption of usage, it unfortunately aged him. She tries warning her son, but Caleb assures his mother that is not his father and promises he limits his usage. Elsewhere, the cops report what they saw to their commanding officer, but he thinks they're exaggerating things. The officers gets a report telling them about an abandoned car parked in the middle of the woods. They go and check the car, only to see someone asleep. They try waking the kid up, but there's no response. They break his window and open the door only to find him dead. The next day, Caleb gets news of the kid who got unalived and calls Pogue. He tells him he thinks Reed did it because lately he's been out of control. Pogue doesn't think so. Caleb sees a ghost of the kid and drives through a truck. Fortunately for his powers, he's able to put his car and himself back to one piece. He picks up the phone and tells Pogue what he just saw. They decide to meet up tonight and have a discussion with Reed. Later on, the group hang out at a bar. Chase and Caleb play soccer. He asks Caleb how close he is with the boys. Caleb explains they're basically cousins and they grew up together. A few minutes later, a fight breaks out between Reed and the local boys. Caleb calls on Pogue to help him de-escalate the situation. They get outside and Caleb asks Reed to let it go. The boys leave and Caleb scolds him for trying to use his powers all the time, but Reed insults him and calls him a coward. He challenges him and he fights back. He scolds him again and reminds him their powers are addictive, but Reed doesn't want to hear it and tries attacking him, but Caleb is too powerful for him. Pogue stops him and Caleb blames Reed for unaliving a kid, but he assures him he never unalived anyone that night and walks off. Later on, Caleb drops off Sarah at her school. She thanks him for a night out and kisses him as she leaves. During the night, a spider creeps to Sarah and gets in her hair. She gets up and brushes through her hair. The spider falls on her sheets and she sees a cluster of spiders everywhere, only for it to be a nightmare. The next day, the boys attend class and their teacher tells Caleb that the principal would like to have a word with him after the session. After class, the school's principal asks Caleb about the kid that passed on. Caleb assures that he knows nothing of the kid or what happened to him. The principal tells Caleb that he would like him to put the new learner named Chase under his wing, stating his family has invested a huge sum of money into the school, and pleads to Caleb to make sure that Chase has a great experience within the school. He agrees and walks out. Elsewhere, Sarah visits the library to do some research. She's looking for information on the Sons of Ipswich and their ancestral history to understand the mysterious events happening around her. She looks for information about the connections between the current students at Spencer Academy and the original families with magical abilities. She discovers old documents and books that contain historical references to the Ipswich colony and the witch trials. These documents provide background information on the origins of the Sons of Ipswich and their powers. She comes across information about the 5th family that was banished, which hints at the existence of another powerful descendant. Later on, Pogue has an argument with Kate and he tells her to stop being friends with Chase because he believes he has other intentions. But Kate refuses and says he's just a friend. Chase angrily walks out on her. Moments later, Kate complains to Sarah about Pogue's jealousy. Sarah assures her that he's just in love with her, but Kate dismisses it and goes to sleep. The scene takes place at the school's indoor swimming pool. Pogue wins his race against other swimmers. Caleb challenges Chase in a race. They get in the pool and swim off. As they get to the last lap, Caleb notices Chase's eyes turning black. He loses control and hits his head on the wall. A few minutes later, he wakes up being surrounded by his friends. Later in class, Caleb watches Chase closely as he no longer trusts him. Their teacher tells Chase he's wanted in the principal's office. He gets in the office and the principal asks Chase if he knew the kid that passed on. Chase assures him he never knew the kid. The principal thinks it's odd because they found his student ID in the kid's car. Chase convinces the principal he doesn't know how it got there. Elsewhere, Caleb and Pogue break into the school's office to investigate and gather information related to the recent supernatural occurrences and attacks. Once inside the office, Caleb and Pogue search through files, computer records, and other documents. They are particularly interested in any historical records, student files, or confidential information that could shed light on the supernatural activities. They come across old records and documents that detail the history of the Ipswich colony and the original Covenant of Silence. These records include references to the 5 founding families, their powers, and the consequences of abusing those powers. While searching, they find a file on Chase. This file contains information that raises their suspicions about Chase's true identity and his possible connection to the supernatural attacks. The file suggests that Chase might be the descendant of the banished 5th family, hinting at his potential motive for causing chaos and his interest in the Sons of Ipswich. This discovery aligns with the earlier hints and foreshadowing about Chase's sinister intentions. Elsewhere, Kate gets admitted at hospital and the doctor tells Sarah they're not sure what's causing her condition. He tells her it seems as if she was bitten by hundreds of spiders. This shocks Sarah and explains her recent nightmares. Later on, the group meet up to discuss what they should do about the recent discovery. Caleb gets a call from Sarah. She tells him about Kate. He tells her to go to her dorm and wait for him there. Caleb informs Pogue about what happened to Kate and says Chase cast a spell on her. He immediately loses it and rides off. He speeds through the night only to see Chase in the middle of the road. He challenges him to a fight. Pogue agrees and tries to ride his bike through him, only for Chase to use his powers and throw him over. He gets up and warns him not to hurt Kate. Chase promises him he's going to hurt him and then he'll get to Caleb. Elsewhere, Sarah gets to the school and walks to her dorm. As she was about to close her door, she sees Caleb. He walks in and asks about Kate. Before she could answer, they hear a knock on the door, only for it to be Chase. He stops him from attacking and promises he won't hurt her if he doesn't do anything stupid. He explains that when he found out about his powers, he couldn't stop using them and it became a drug to him. He tells him he unalived his father to get more powers. Caleb asks him what he wants from him. Chase gets up and tells him he needs more power, telling him that he wants his powers too since his powers will increase in strength. He promises him if he doesn't meet up with him tomorrow he'll unalive everyone he's close to. Later, Caleb and Sarah go to see his father. He tells her not to be afraid when she sees him. They walk in and find his caretaker. He scolds Caleb for bringing a human, but he assures him that she's important to him. They walk up to his father and he introduces his father to her, telling her that he's 44 years old in human years. He explains that he comes from one of the 5 original families in the Ipswich colony who were bestowed with supernatural powers. These powers are passed down through generations. He reveals that his father has suffered the consequences of abusing their powers. He explains that using their powers excessively accelerates aging, and his father is a prime example of this. In the evening, Caleb's mom panics after hearing of the dangers they're facing and pleads to him to ask his father for his powers in order to defeat Chase. But Caleb refuses and reminds his mother how selfish his father is. A few minutes later, Caleb is on his way to meet up with Chase as promised, only for Chase to find him and break his windows. Caleb gets out the car and looks around for Chase. He gets in an old barn and finds Chase. He tells him he's got Sarah as motivation for him to keep his promise to give him his powers. He challenges Caleb and they use their powers to fight each other. Chase pulls Caleb close and pushes him through the roof. He pins him against wood and Caleb begins ascending as it's midnight. Chase demands him to give him his powers, but Caleb attacks him and throws him through the walls, but Chase gets up and defends himself, showing he's still stronger than him. Elsewhere, Caleb's mother begs his father to please give his son his powers because if he doesn't he'll be unalived. His father releases his powers to his son and immediately Caleb gets stronger and defeats Chase. Caleb quickly gets in the barn before it burns down and gets Sarah out. Everyone that Chase put under a spell get free from it thanks to Chase. Make sure to like and subscribe for more notifications. Until next time. See you soon.